Once the strategy model itself is created, the leadership team needs to work on prioritizing each of the strategic objectives. The idea is this: if we use the strategy model example that we've had so far for an airline such as WestJet, the strategy model itself tells us what the objectives are, but working together we need to agree on the prioritization of these objectives. So in this example, during year 1, we might have a high weighting for the objective focus on process redesign. We need to do that this year in year 1. The outcomes from that process redesign, things like fast turnaround time and on-time flights, are weighted as a medium level for this year, and the outcome from those activities, things like fewer planes, are actually at a low level. Now, if we take a look at what, say, year 2 might look like, the weighting might shift up. Now that we've completed our training around process redesign and have begun to execute on that training, we're going to see the high weighting. Our focus for year 2 is going to be around seeing some benefits from that training, things like faster turnaround time and more on-time flights. And maybe we're going to begin moving the weighting up from low to medium for a low ticket price, because that should begin to be achieved through the operational improvements that have occurred. Now, if we go a bit further in time, let's say out to year 5, we should see that now we're not stopping our training and focus on redesign, but it's a low priority. The high from fast turnaround time is now shifted down to a low, as has on-time flights. But fewer planes has now moved to high, as of course has more passengers. In other words, the prioritization changes over time as we gain traction in a marketplace, and as a marketplace changes, leadership needs to get together periodically and adjust our prioritization accordingly. Prioritization plays into a lot of decision making in the organization, so getting this right is an important contribution to us overall being aligned in the decision making we have going forward. Now, there's a bit of a framework behind this. If we think of an objective like deliver shareholder value, there'll be a time span against which we may deploy different strategies to achieve that. So for example, when I'm first starting up a business, I might be focusing in on gaining the capabilities and building some operational effectiveness. And so I'm going to have, in a 1 to 2 year horizon, objectives highly weighted around operational effectiveness. Once we achieve those benefits, the second tier of growth, the mid-wave, may be something along the lines of developing our customer relationships and customer management. And that mid-wave activity typically span an organization from year 2 to year 3 of its life. And then the final phase is something about product innovation. So leveraging off our great processes and people and our strong relationships, in the longer wave, I can begin focusing in on product innovation. So again, not a hard rule about the timelines or even the phases, but the concept is that same strategic objective, shareholder value, will be achieved through different levers over time. And as new products come out, you may shift back to operational effectiveness and so forth. So this is the transitional view of how strategy weighting may occur. Now, the 4 perspectives themselves are just trying to answer the questions of what will drive financial success, what do our customers want, therefore what must our internal processes be to achieve both these customer needs and those financial objectives, and then underpinning all of that, what are the competencies, technology, enabling structures, and so forth that we require in order to do that. Those top 2 perspectives are what we call value consuming, and the bottom 2 are value building. Through the enablers and internal processes, we're building competencies, our human capital pool, the culture, and our processes. I'm building value, but that's value at rest. If I don't translate that into customers and financials, I'm just building value and never consuming it. The top 2, I'm taking those great competencies, culture, people, processes, and translating them into happy customers and eventually the happy financial structures. So that also has a big footprint on the type of organization and the lifespan of your organization. But organizations like 3M, the innovation company, may always have a higher weighting down here in the enablers and internal because they're always developing new products and therefore are behaving like a new business. And as soon as the business gets more mature, they may sell it off or move it to another business unit so that they can refocus on the next new business. The final thing is about strategic themes. We should be able to add up the objectives around a theme to give us an overall view of how important that theme is. So, for example, if we have a theme around innovative solutions leveraging off our relationships, if we add those together, this has a 65% weighting for this organization for this year. And the theme weighting also helps communicate relative importance.